G'day guys, Will here, welcome back to the channel. So today's video we're going to be doing a highly unscientific test to see how much quicker I am on my normal day-to-day driver rig with the Simucube 2 Ultimate and the Motion Platform V3 compared to a Logitech G920. So we did a review video yesterday where we put the G920 onto the Next Level Racing wheel stand racer, and I did a quick test to just sort of see how it all held together in terms of flex and things like that, and I promised you that I'd do a comparison with my new rig, and I thought the best way to do this would be to do basically just a back-to-back test. So what we're going to do is 6 laps in the Skip Barber and iRacing around New Hampshire Motor Speedway Road circuit. We're going to have completely fixed weather conditions as well, so all the variables are locked down as much as they possibly can be. I'm also going to be using my HP Reverb headset here as well, so that literally the only difference between the two setups is the wheel, the pedals, and obviously not sitting in a cockpit, not having motion and things like that. See exactly how much difference that makes for me. So obviously there's going to be a lot of people that are very fast on setups like this, and the point of this video isn't at all to say that you can't be fast on gear like this. It's just a simple sort of test to see exactly what sort of an impact it has on my driving, coming from somebody who's used to using such high-end gear now. So we are going to have a look at the telemetry data once we're done in VRS Studio as well, to sort of have a look and overlay the telemetry and see exactly where I'm losing time and things like that. And I think probably the biggest factor is still going to be that brake pedal, not having the load cell there, but it should be a pretty interesting comparison. So we're going to do a 6-lap stint back-to-back in both rigs, 3 laps of warm-up, and then 3 laps of going as fast as I possibly can. Then we'll jump out and we will compare the two. So to try and make things as fair as possible, I've done quite a bit of practice with the G920 this morning. I've just done 20 laps just now, actually, just to sort of get familiar with it, sort of learn my braking points and try and get as consistent as possible. And I haven't driven the Skip Barber in my rig for over a week now, so I'm sure that I've completely destroyed all of my muscle memory and I'm going to regret doing this, but it should be a really fun comparison. So let's jump into it. All right, let's do this. So I am using the paddle shifters for this car, simply because, as I said in yesterday's video, the Next Level Racing wheel stand racer doesn't have provision for a side shifter or a stick shifter, so we are using what we have access to here to keep it as real as possible. And also the G920 doesn't have a sequential shift anyway, so it's kind of the best option for this car anyway. But yeah, we'll do our 3 laps of warm up here. Hopefully the tyres will be up to temperature by the end of that, but I do still want to try and put in at least semi-decent times here, because we are going to be comparing all 6 laps to the same scenario in the other sim. So I'm going to concentrate as much as I can. But I mean, the main thing that's missing is just the feeling of the car moving around underneath you, and I think a big part of that is actually the motion platform as well. But you just don't get a sense of the weight of the car because the force feedback just isn't strong enough to give you that sort of car pendulum sort of effect. I mean, that corner is a really good example. The car, the first thing you know is, you know, the car's sideways, and I think immediately I have a lot more respect for people that are able to do ridiculously fast lap times with these kinds of wheels, because I think it's a lot harder. But I mean, the point of this video isn't to sort of say how much quicker it makes everybody, it's just a comparison for me personally. But I mean, even just there, the car was dancing around everywhere. Whoa, find the braking point. This is after 30 laps of practice as well. Get some heat into the tyres and we should be alright by lap 3 hopefully. Starting to feel better already. Just have no confidence in that corner whatsoever. Just really don't get a sense of what the car's doing. This lap's feeling okay so far. Oh no, screwed it up. Alright, should be able to get a decent time now. Tyres are up to temperature now, so no excuses. Uh-oh. I had to back right out. Oh, screwed that up completely. Alright, focus. I'm not having any less fun than I do with the other rig though. I mean, it's a little less immersive, but the fun level is about the same, I gotta say, which is important because, I mean, obviously, it just goes to show you can still have the same amount of fun with a much cheaper rig. Alright, we're doing okay. Oh no. We're only going to get one more lap to get a decent time. I'm just struggling. As soon as the car starts to pendulum on me, I just don't have the sense of what's going on. And I mean, even after 30 laps of practice, I just can't seem to get it right. So all right, last chance. It's okay. Not my best lap, but not my worst. What was it? 110.7, okay. All right, so that is 6 laps, 110.7, and again, we'll have a look at the telemetry properly once we've done the other session as well. But what I'll do now is I will quickly unplug everything, get everything plugged back in on the other rig. It'll probably be about 10 minutes before I'm up and driving again. Not going to do any practice. I'm just going to jump straight in the deep end, and we'll see if we can get anywhere close to those times with no practice whatsoever. All right, let's do it. Man, the steering feels so much heavier. I mean, I don't have the force feedback cranked up all that high. I'm running probably about 12 or 13 Newton meters, but It's a bit more than the 2 or so that I get with the 920. Bit of oversteer there. Cold tyres. I need to remember I need to concentrate here. These laps do count. I can just feel what's going on with the car so much better. I mean, even with that slide there, I still was able to catch it and just control it. I was so much more confident. It's funny, I feel like I'm going so much faster. Probably not, but just feels it. Still breaking away from me. Alright, we should be able to get a better time now. Tyres should be starting to get warmed up. Lap 3, lap 4 is usually where it's at its optimum. So much more confident through that last turn in particular. Don't know what it is about that turn, but feel so much more in control. Okay, what was this time? 1:10.8. So not as quick as my fastest on the G920, surprisingly. It felt a lot quicker, but it was a 1:10.7 I did before, so... But tyres were still a little bit cold that lap, so should be able to improve pretty significantly from here. Keep it powered. One 10.8 again. Screwed up that turn. It's funny because it just feels so much faster. Definitely more consistent though, even with a little mistake there.
All right, last chance. Felt quicker. How did we go? 110.4, nice. So, definitely a little bit quicker in the end there, but it took me 6 laps to kind of get used to it again. But the funny thing there was, I felt like I was going so much faster than I actually was, which actually really surprised me. But yeah, definitely a massive improvement in the consistency there at least. We still had a couple of mistakes. That was just getting used to this this wheel and pedals and everything again after using the G920 for the last couple of days. But let's jump in now, have a look at VRS to see exactly how the telemetry compares between the two runs. Alright, so having a look at my lap data here in VRS, you can see, of course, the track conditions are exactly the same between the two. Now, the fastest laps, which we'll compare the actual telemetry in just a moment to see how they varied from each other, but the fastest laps there, you can see the fastest I did with the Simucube was a 110.48. Fastest I did with the G920 was a 110.71. But, I mean, look at the difference in the lap times here and the consistency. I did a 110.8, 110.8, 110.8, 110.4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 laps all within 0.4 of each other, and 3 laps there within, you know, a couple of tenths of each other, or a couple of hundredths of each other rather. But yeah, every single lap was faster, even when I had mistakes with the Simucube, which doesn't really surprise me. Average lap time overall, let's just have a quick look at that as well. So on the Simucube, average lap time 111.171. Average on the 920 was 112.8. And that's kind of what it felt like. It's funny because I felt like I was driving so much faster with the Simucube and all the, you know, the pedals and the motion platform and everything. I think, you know, it does add that extra level of immersion that is kind of missing with the other rig. But that's not to say necessarily that it was more fun one way or another. I mean, the added immersion does make things a little bit more enjoyable, but it's certainly not to say that you can't have just as much fun with a much cheaper setup. But anyway, let's have a look at those two fastest laps there in the raw telemetry data and have a look at how they actually overlay against each other. Okay, so this is the two fastest laps from each session overlaid against each other. And there's a couple of interesting things here to point out. The dotted line, of course, is our target lap, so the fastest lap, and the blue line is our reference lap, or the lap that we're comparing against the target. So, yeah, you can see I carried a little bit more speed into turn 2 here. So this is the soft gradient into turn 1, where we're kind of just easing around that long sweeping banking turn. But this is the really heavy braking zone here into turn 2, the sharp right-hander. And you can see I carried a little bit more speed through there with the Simucube, and that was where I gained a lot of time there. And you can see if we go down to the brake and have a look at the same part here, you can see I had a lot less braking force, but I rolled the brake off a lot more slowly. So it was a lot more consistent on the brake there. So having a look at the delta here between the two different laps, you can see initially I was braking a lot heavier with the G920 pedals as opposed to the Fanatec V3s with the brake performance kit. So I'm braking heavily and then I'm rolling off a lot more slowly with the V3 pedals. So a lot more aggressive, and then, oh crap, and I'm backing out of the brake and then adjusting. So, and you can see here again, there's sharp inconsistencies between the two. A little bit more consistent here through the sort of corkscrew part, and then this is the braking into the final turn here. But again, you can see here on throttle, I'm making a lot more adjustments with the with the G920 than I was having to do with the Simucube and the V3 pedals. And that's just because I'm a lot more consistent spotting my apexes and feeling a lot more of what's going on with the car and so forth. Now, in terms of steering angle, not a whole lot of difference, maybe a little bit smoother with our Simucube again, but not a whole lot of difference in there really. But it's interesting to look at the comparison here. Not a massive amount of delta between the two. And again, because I was running wide at different points and doing things like that, it's probably not the best comparison in the world there. But yeah, I think again, what this has highlighted, and we've kind of come to this conclusion in previous videos as well, is that pedals are definitely what makes the most difference, in particular your brake pedal. Without having that extra level of control that you get with a pedal set like the V3s with the performance kit, or even better than that, you really are going to suffer. I mean, steering wise, not a whole lot of difference here. And, you know, while I couldn't feel what was going on with the car quite as well because of, you know, the lack of motion and the lack of the strength of the feedback, you can see here, because my inputs are pretty similar, I wouldn't say that the difference in the steering makes that much of a difference to the overall lap times. Being able to catch slides and things like that maybe a bit, but yeah, the real big difference here is in the braking. And I think, you know, we've talked about that before, and this definitely highlights that again. But yeah, I think we can pretty safely conclude from this again that pedals is where you want to be spending your money first. And I kind of knew that going into it, but it's good to have that confirmed once again. Okay, guys, so I hope you found this comparison interesting. I think that we can definitely draw some pretty interesting conclusions from this. But above all, I want to say that the level of enjoyment between the two different setups wasn't that significant, particularly when you're using a VR headset and you're already so immersed inside the game. Obviously, having the motion and the extra strength in the feedback, the extra fidelity and things like that definitely do help. But, I mean, the difference isn't absolutely night and day. And I would certainly say in terms of raw enjoyment, particularly when you're getting into a racing environment and stuff where you're battling with other cars and stuff, you get so absorbed in what you're doing that you probably notice the difference a little bit less even. So I definitely would conclude that you don't need to spend massive amounts of money to have a lot of fun. And that's not to say that I feel like I shouldn't have gotten so involved and, you know, got such high-end gear. But yeah, definitely I wouldn't say that you're at a disadvantage in terms of your enjoyment levels if you can't afford really expensive gear. But definitely when it comes to spending money, I think that we can conclude that pedals is where you want to spend your money first. So thank you very much for watching, guys. As always, if you're interested in picking up any of the gear that you've seen in this video, you can do so using the affiliate links in the description below, and that is an awesome way to support the channel. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.